So our next presenter is a member of the League of the Legal and Technical Support Unit at the Colorado Department of State and a tireless advocate of the Government 2.0 movement. He's also one of the founding members of Open Colorado and on the board of directors, and he has done a lot of work to help put on today's event, so put a round of applause for that. Scott.
So I'm Scott Primeau, and I'm here to talk to you about connecting citizens and policy. So what does typical policy making look like? Well, we get behind closed doors somewhere in a meeting room, we decide what's going to be best for people, and then we tell you what we're going to do, and you have to live with it. How could this be better? Well, we need to get people involved earlier. There's a huge process. Karen just put up another slide showing the legislative process. Policy making isn't that different, except for, doesn't have votes on it. So we need people involved soon. Why should we do this? Well, it's going to build trust with the public. If we can get them involved early and get their buy-in, it's going to be a lot easier to work together and for them to understand why we're doing what we're doing. Also, it's going to save money. When we put out a policy that isn't going to work, that negatively impacts people, we're going to get complaints. We're going to have to deal with answering more phone calls. We might have to rework things, spend more resources that way. Also, it's going to help us do things right the first time. Do you want to know what kind of data to release? Do you want to know what kind of file formats to use? Do you want to know what kind of filing system to build? Well, ask people. There's a lot more experts than just sit in our offices. Finally, people complain. Whether it's just a good feeling that you want to make people happy, or you don't want to have to answer the phone, whatever it is, we can do a much better job of getting buy-in. Finally, it's in our laws. Colorado says that the making of public policy should be done in the open, and it shouldn't be done in secret. So we're actually required to involve people. There's several types of open meeting laws on the books. So finally, how can we do this? When we get down to it, it sounds nice. Well, we need to tell people where to be involved, what they're going to be talking about, when it's going to happen. We've got to give them that information so they know what's going on. Here's an example from the Denver City Council. It's got a calendar laid out. It has meeting agendas. Lets people know, right away what they can come and talk about. See, this is one of those long 15 seconds. When we're having these meetings, we've got to be open to listening to people. I know it sounds straightforward, but a lot of times, by the time someone gets to a city council meeting or a legislative hearing or any other kind of rules process, they've already made up their mind. It's human nature. If you hear about an issue, you're going to start thinking about it already. But if you have people involved at the front end, then you're going to be getting their feedback. So how do we do it? With all these tools. The internet is making it easier and easier to involve more people. We don't have to go out to every neighborhood. We can put up an online platform and let people comment that way. Here's an example from Fairfax County, Virginia, that is using their website to reach out to more people. Oakland County, Michigan, not known for a home of a lot of great things happening, but really their IT department is trying to make great strides to improve more people, involve more people, share services, and really do things more cost effectively. Estonia, across the pond, they actually set up 400 different public meeting groups to involve people simultaneously, and then come back together and bring the results together and figure out what the people needed. The EU is creating plans to involve more end users. That's the idea of find the people that are really affected and get their input ahead of time. Figure out what's going to be important to them, what's going to make their lives easier, and involve them. Iceland invited citizens to help rewrite their constitution. We did that in the United States over 200 years ago. A group of citizens wrote our constitution. Iceland just did it again. England, they have an e-petition system that lets people submit petitions, vote on them. It's kind of like what we did before the camp to suggest session ideas, but a little more impactful. The US now has a similar platform that President Obama started called We the People. Unfortunately, one of the things they did is they've been changing the rules since they launched it. Initially, you had to hit a certain threshold of supporters, and they raised that threshold after launching it because they didn't have the resources behind it. So one more thing that might help, as Sean mentioned, we have an open government directive. You're not sure really how to lay this all out? Well, we've got a framework for it. It's ready to go. Anybody can implement it. Just plug your name in and start building the process. Finally, it doesn't really matter unless you can take action around it, unless you give the resources to support it, unless you plan to make the changes. So, thank you.